SicEm365 Radio. It's time for Craig Smoak's Off the Radar.
All right, welcome into Off the Radar, SicEm365 Radio. There might be a couple of on-the-radar stories just because NIL has become such a big thing, although we haven't touched every detail, so I'll provide a few stories that have to do with NIL here in just a few moments that we have not touched on just yet, but it was kind of mentioned there during the commercial break, and some folks were talking about it earlier. Today is Bobby Bonilla Day. He has not played in Major League Baseball since the year 2000. It is 2021. He is collecting, once again, $2 million today on July the 1st, as he has been doing since 2011, 11 years after his playing career ended, and as he will continue to do until 2035. Greatest deal in sports history. But yes, today is Bobby Bonilla Day, so he gets that fresh, I guess, probably direct deposit, $2 million from the Mets. Has there been a worse deal ever signed? I mean, you're still paying 11 years after the guy has retired, and you're going to be still paying for another 24 years after?
Yeah. What did he get up
gets
front? No, I know that. It's like winning the lottery. You can get it all at once, or you can get it. What did he get up front? $25 million, $30 million? What did he get? How much did he get at the beginning? Because this is brilliant. And what he's done is brilliant.
Okay, so they were going to buy out his contract, which was a big part of the story. And then they were going to buy it out for $5.9 million, but instead they agreed to make annual payments of $1.2 for 25 years starting in 2011, including an 8% negotiated interest.
So
and
$35 million is...
That was when Madoff was running the team. And he had been promising everybody double-digit returns, and they were going to make big money. And then, obviously, Madoff did not deliver on that promise. He's one of the worst crooks in American history and a piece of garbage. And, that kind of threw the entire ownership for a loop, as well as their finances. And, now the new owners even said they're thinking about celebrating Bobby Bonilla Day at Citi Field on a yearly basis, which is kind of a fun way to twist this. But, yeah, it was basically thinking you had this and you really didn't, and thinking you were smarter than you were, and now it's resulted in them paying this guy $2 million a year for a billion years, basically.
A pretty good player with Pittsburgh, and then the Mets. He was a pretty good player, RBI guy.
Won a World Series, I believe.
300. I think he was a 300
I believe he was on that first Marlins World Series team.
Yeah. On the same day you mentioned that, this is the last day of the contract of Lionel Messi's 4-year, it's hard for me to fathom, $674 million deal with FC Barcelona.
Yep. So that's coming to a close. Bonilla's will not for another 15 years. He's going to continue to make $2 million.
Bobby Bonilla also has a second deferred contract plan with the Mets and Orioles that pays him $500,000 a year. How
has not everyone signed his agent at this point?
Brett Saberhagen's still getting $250,000 a year from the Mets. That began in 2004. That was the inspiration for Bonilla's deal. Max Scherzer gets $105 million total from the Nationals that we paid through 2028, even though he and then let's see, hold on. Manny Ramirez will collect $24.2 million total from the Red Sox through 2026. Ken Griffey Jr. has an annuity every year with the Reds, $3.59 million every year through next year or 2 years. So
a bunch of guys making money and not playing.
Yeah.
All right, so Mississippi State won their first team championship last night. We did make mention of that, but that was the first one, which is kind of surprising. The only other one they had in school history was collegiate disc golf. So pretty big deal for Mississippi State last night that you might not have known about that. So I think they were definitely partying pretty heavily in Starkville, Mississippi last night. I want to know how this is not against the rules now. So Dayton Flyers... they have a new incentive if you sign with Dayton, which is entirely against the whole idea of what we're talking about with name, image, and likeness. But a local business by the name of Flyer Faithful LLC, which is ran by former Dayton Flyer star Brian Roberts, announced today it will compensate Flyers men's basketball players for endorsements. This is going to be basically the way it sounds and the way it's written of if you sign to play for Dayton, you're automatically included in this. So how is that not an inducement rather than benefiting off of name, image, and likeness? And how would this prevent everybody from saying, for example, Nike's an Oregon school. Nike, hey, if you sign with Oregon, we'll give you $20,000 a year.
And this is why the NCAA failed in this. and that they had all this time to figure these things out and sit in a room and be given all of these hypothetical scenarios, and they didn't do it. They absolutely didn't do it.
Yeah, but does that make sense to you guys? If you sign for this team, you're going to get something out of it.
No, that seemed like that's completely the opposite of what they are saying, really, what is NIL.
Yeah, so, I mean, I know most people don't care about Dayton, and a lot of the comments...
Pretty good basketball school on occasion.
I mean, I'm saying nationally, I don't think a lot of people outside of the month of March care about Dayton in any way, shape, or form if you're not from there. But, yeah, I found that odd because that's entirely against what this is supposed to be, and yet... There's no one policing it, so there's nothing stopping you from saying, hey, Earl Campbell Hot Links, if you sign with Texas, we'll give you $1,000 a year.
Yeah.
That's going to be a problem. That's going to be a big problem. Trey Turner, bad news for him. He had to leave the game last night with an injury, but it was notable that the Nats shortstop is a member of the history books now, had a cycle on Wednesday against the Rays. Cycle's a rare thing that happens, but this is more rare and notable because it's the third of his career, which ties him for the Major League Baseball record. He also tied the MLB record with his third career cycle on his 28th birthday yesterday. Went 4 for 4, 4 runs, RBI, 2 stolen bags, and had the single, double, triple, and home run. He's the first player ever to hit a cycle with multiple stolen bases. So a little bit of history being made by Trey Turner of the Washington Nationals.
Who's he tied with the record with?
Joins John Riley, Bob Musil, Babe Herman, and Adrian Beltre.
Not Babe Herman Ruth.
Yeah.
No.
But Babe Herman. Okay.
Yeah, just Babe Herman. So anyways, that's an interesting piece of baseball history right there. I meant to get to it a couple days ago, and not really so much. I mean, you kind of mentioned the main part of the story, the NFL fining the Washington football team $10 million, but I'm far more interested in getting your opinion on the fact that they have placed Dan's wife, Tanya Snyder, Dan Snyder's wife, as the team's co-CEO. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I do know this. Listen, Washington was more than a dumpster fire, and today's $10 million fine and whatever they found out about behind the scenes, a horrible franchise. We understand that. It hurts me because I love them. I've loved them forever. But I think what they have done is across the board, they've checked the boxes. Now are they going to let those who they're allowing to check the boxes make decisions? They got the guy, I forgot his name, who's the president. She's now a CEO. They have the woman who's now doing the media relations and all that. And it can't hurt.
Yeah. I think people are wondering about like a little lack of experience as a co-CEO, but she also does a lot of side work, I know.
I've heard great things about her by reading stories about her breast cancer awareness and a lot of things she's been a part of. She's just not some trophy wife. Right. She is an incredibly intelligent and earth-moving. She moves things. She gets things done, and so perhaps this is not bad.
Yeah, maybe she can get that new stadium deal done.
Yeah, maybe she can.
Possibly.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. I think the most notable thing is it just signifies the Snyder ownership's not leaving anytime soon. For those that were hoping for that, I think this just cements their NFL
Well, and he just
haul.
bought up all the other people.
And I got to tell you, though, and I know it's sometimes when someone's just like a wreck all the time, it's hard. I think, I'm not saying he's learned his lesson, but they are making some decisions that seem to be ahead of the curve among other franchises.
Well, I'll tell you what.
And yes, it was a lot of it had to be done and was forced as well.
One of the things that, forced in that Daniel Snyder's no dummy. He's seen what's happened to other sports owners as things get bad, where a league will make you sell. It happened in the NFL with Jerry Richardson. Matt Rule is in Carolina right now because David Tepper bought the Panthers from Jerry Richardson, and they're only for sale because Jerry Richardson had some terrible behavior that he was punished for, and the NFL moved him out. Steve Ballmer owns the Clippers now because of their previous owner's ridiculous racist behavior. So it's not unprecedented. Billionaires do have consequences now, and the leagues will push people out. So if Daniel Snyder didn't make any changes, whether he owns the whole team or not, if the other 31 owners tell him to GTFO, he has to.
By the way, Tanya Snyder today on the findings, are you going to mention this?
No, go ahead.
I'm mortified to think that's happening in our building and our business. And so Daniel Snyder is temporarily removing himself from the day-to-day businesses, and she is, of course, as you mentioned, Craig, taking over as co-chief executive. But that's a raw answer. That's a response. That's a legitimate, my God, what's been going on here? And I think she might be a nice little adrenaline rush for the organization.
We will see. We will see. To name, image, likeness, and just a few more specifics on certain things. Paul sent this over because I was talking about earlier. I had not even begun to imagine that this will have nothing to do with your actual ability and more about just how much of a following you can gather. And pretty girls are going to be able to do that quicker than anybody. Let's just be honest about it. Hannah and Haley Cavender are now also being sponsored. Fresno State basketball players and twin sisters. They've got millions of followers on social media. And again, this is where I'm talking about like the young kids with mom and dad's checkbooks or just the creepy old people that, sit on Twitch all day and donate and follow people on Instagram and all of that. Well, they have signed with Boost Mobile, a wireless company, and they're going to be working with them in, quote unquote, a variety of ways. So they had a little statement or whatever. And what's really interesting is I don't know how many fans they have on Instagram. It's probably millions, but like on Twitter, like I have more. It's funny the disparity between the different social media platforms. But Boost Mobile says it's also got a list of about 400 college athletes that it hopes to partner with in the future. The Cavender sisters will be part of a national advertising campaign. They've already had their picture up in Times Square to announce this. And the Boost Mobile CEO believes that many of the college athletes will appeal on local levels, and deals could range from annual contracts worth large sums of money to in-kind deals where Boost provides athletes with free cell phone service plans and more for social media use. So they're going the local heroes route, and they're banking on the Cavender twins, I guess, to be, one of their big sponsors. Meanwhile, De'Aaron King and Mackenzie Milton, formerly of UCF, they have actually launched a business out of this. Dreamfield Corporation or Dreamfield Company, I'm not sure which, but Dreamfield Co. They are co-founders, and instead of everybody looking at like, hey, how can I make money the quickest, they decided, how can we make money off the other guys that are making money? They're truly the smart ones, because what was missing was the athletes' touch, like the Players Tribune or the whatever, for the college athletes. So these guys are double dipping in a way, and it's brilliant. And more should have thought of this. So not only will they benefit, but by starting this coalition of this company, they'll bring other athletes into the fold and then be able to get something off of that as well, and also keep it in the athlete umbrella. So those two have already gone out and started a whole new thing. And King says that he's already had, many, many phone calls. Milton's actually going to go more of like the NFT route. He's going to sell a, random one-of-a-kind NFT. I still think that's just a whole bizarre thing, but there's apparently enough, popularity for it.
An NFT of his leg breaking.
I guess, yeah. I mean, somebody will buy that, right? But King says that he's already received $20,000 in deals and anticipates getting many more. Also, King, Milton, and Hurricanes defensive back Bubba Bolden signed deals with College Hunks, Hauling, Junking, and Moving.
I've actually used that company before, yeah.
They will receive $20,000 in the deal with the moving company. So there's another example. De'Aaron King is like all over this. And, I don't know what his NFL future is, but this very well may be the last year he plays football. So, that's part of this that people don't acknowledge either is like, these college athletes can make money, but for some of them, this will be their only opportunity to make this kind of a money.
I'll tell you this right now, Mackenzie Milton. If you get 9 wins as the quarterback at Florida State, I will make sure that someone buys your NFT. It may not be me.
It needs to be you.
But I will make sure that happens. 9 wins. It's not unattainable.
Yep, so De'Aaron King is already banking $20,000 in and more coming. And so, he's one of the guys that's kind of leading this charge here. And it will be very interesting to see, how far this goes and whatnot. King said more than 50 brands have contacted him today alone. And he's also put out feelers, and he really wants to hear from Lululemon, the clothing brand. I don't know if we'll get that hotty-toddy for these guys, but they're trying to make deals happen. So there's an example of somebody who's really taking the bull by the horns. And then tonight in the NBA, we'll have the Atlanta Hawks and the Milwaukee Bucks. It's Game 5. That series is tied at 2 apiece, 7:30 on TNT. No hockey tonight.
Tampa Bay up 2-0 against Montreal. Andrew Brandt. Here's a problem with NIL for athletics departments beyond compliance issues. Sponsors may now decide to divert their advertising budget away from the school and towards the athletes. This will happen. So that's one thing we can ask Mac when we get him back on next week. All right?
Yeah, I think just for those who have maybe a smaller school, just a big time player, they'll really stand to benefit from that. I think if you're a big brand, they won't necessarily walk away from you.
The problem with the sponsors backing away from the schools, there's a lot of perks they get from the school, seats and things like that. And
they don't get anything, remember? They don't. The college athlete just goes to class and goes to practice and gets nothing.
When we